to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's open the meeting with public comment. Is there any public comment? Anybody happen to grab the minutes? Yes, sir.
My name is Lou Reeves. First of all, I can't hear you, so. Yeah, I have a concern, and I'm here because I care. And if I didn't, you wouldn't see me periodically. So, but I didn't necessarily, Mike, enjoy what you had to say to me 3 weeks ago, having to do with my challenging you, or suggesting that why you delayed an investigation. Now that you've appointed counsel outside of the county, I think what most of us want to hear now, based upon what we're reading in the newspaper, what are the charges?
First, we didn't appoint the counsel. The Attorney General appointed the counsel.
It had to be for conflict of interest.
Yes.
True.
And I really don't know what the charges are.
You don't know what the charges are?
No. From what we know is, I can't think of what it is right now. Official misconduct is what I was told it was. And that was all I was told.
Then why all these behind closed door meetings? And why was that notice to the public withdrawn from the wall? I mean, what's going on?
Well, because we had lawyers going back and forth, and I'm not looking to get the county involved in another lawsuit that's gonna cost us more money.
Thank you.
I mean, that's basically what I'm trying to avoid is the lawsuit. That's what, it doesn't matter where the lawsuit comes from, it comes back to the county,
Sure it does.
and that's who pays for it.
But don't we need to know why they're doing it?
Well, I guess that would be a good idea, but I don't know who we're gonna get that information from.
What about your county attorney?
Well, he's conflicted, that's why we had to get the other
No,
attorney.
he's not now. You've already delegated Gallatin County as your now spokes attorney, as your counsel, he can talk.
Well,
Anyway, the citizens want to know what's going on, I think.
I'd kinda like to know too, but right now I don't know where I'm gonna get that information from. If the county attorney is conflicted, he's a witness. So I don't know who I'm supposed to get information from, or who I can give information to, or what degree I can go to. I mean, if I had, somebody could tell me what I can and can't say to somebody, I'd be happy to say it, but nobody's come forth to me and told me, say, you can say this, or you can say that, or what it's about. Which, just like you said before, I don't much like dealing with lawyers, and I normally don't deal with lawyers. In my life, I've never dealt with a lawyer.
Yeah. All right. Let's leave it at that until we hear something.
Yep.
Can we say to the public that you're looking into it?
I guess we're waiting to get information.
Okay. All right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So, Chairman, so you're actually saying right now that you have no idea what the misconduct was, or the investigation?
All I know is it's official misconduct. That's the only term that I've been given.
And you don't know any details of that?
No. Any other comments? Got some mail here. Department of Public Health and Human Services, alcohol earmark tax distribution, total of $9,129. Letter from the Townsend K-12 school district. Townsend School District has traditionally included several staff members to the interdisciplinary child information and school safety team, or what has been called the CPT or child protection team. All of these positions are held in the highest degree of confidentiality as per their current positions, and I hope you will consider all the recommended people I recommend that the superintendent, the high school principal, the K-8 principal, the elementary dean of students, the K-8 counselor, and the high school counselor. I would trust and respect each of these individuals. If you would like only one or two representatives, please let me know, and our team will try to select from this list. Respectfully, Eric Wilkerson.
I'd like to suggest, excuse me, that we give all these to Nicole to compile and then bring forth to us to go ahead and appoint per the, what's in Senate Bill 35.
Okay. Have claims in the total of $22,310.44.
I will move to pay those approved claims in the amount of $22,310.44.
Second. Motion been made and seconded to pay claims and set them on. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Move on to our 10:15 Trust Board, Rod and Gun Club, Old Baldy Recreation Association, concessionaires, agreements, discussion, and decision. Was Corey gonna rewrite these?
Peter did,
Peter
excuse me.
did, okay.
Peter did, and the copies are here,
Okay.
one for run gun and one for golf course.
And so commissioners, the only changes that remain were to paragraphs 10 and 11, removing that designated representative. Other than that, I did make the effective date today, August 12th, right at the first, I think it's the first line of it, each agreement,
Okay.
given that they're supposed to be signed today, so potentially.
I would move to sign each of those agreements as presented.
Second?
I'll second the motion.
Motion been made and seconded to sign concessionaire agreements for the Old Baldy Recreation Association and Broadwater Rod and Gun Club. Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries.
Mike?
Yes.
As far as getting Virgil Bingley's, and I think it's Jesse's signature, do that later today, maybe?
Yeah, he can sign it now if he wants.
Okay, I don't think Jesse's still here.
Oh, there
Oh,
it is.
there he is. But just for food. Okay. You can sign it.
You ready for me now? Is this all just the run gun?
Oh, of course.
I don't think run gun wants me to sign it for me. And I just emailed our bylaws to
Yeah, I know, there's a lot
Where
of
we
pages
at
in
in
there.
there, Secretary? Peter. So I think I'll just put it on seven,
Thank you.
and there's this year's fee
We
schedule
need a-
for this year.
Okay.
Yeah,
It doesn't have the daily fees on this one.
Little backwards
It was in the
with the
email I
word.
sent to
Go with commissioners.
Peter.
Okay.
So, but,
Hey Jesse, could you send that electronically to all of us?
yes, what email address do you want to?
Ella Obert, I think you already have it from Rec Board. but-
Oh, I would, yeah.
Yeah, at co.broadwater.nt.us.
Perfect. I will get that email right now.
Thank you.
Steve, has the trust board talked to Peter about doing the report to the parks?
We made that recommendation, but no, we did not formally do that. We know that we're out of order hiring him directly, but he's aware of it and was in contact with me on it, so
Okay.
he could certainly could be hired to do that.
Do you know what that deadline is?
I presume it's the same deadline as this contract, so probably the end of this month.
Okay.
I understand it's a pretty simple form, but Mia has it and I do not.
Did we approve a contract with you guys with Peter? Was that just for these concessionaire contracts then?
You know, it was, but, you know, it would not be a stretch to include that report in that. If it's permissible with you guys, we'd certainly throw that on Peter's pile of work, and Peter's aware of it, so.
Do we want to go ahead and?
I would suggest that.
Well, you guys are gonna meet tomorrow, right?
We are.
That's
And are you
correct.
gonna discuss that tomorrow?
We can.
We probably don't want to, we don't want to get in a timeline here. We're going to try to meet again on Thursday, just to expedite. We can't vote on a presentation of a grant the same day.
Right.
So we're going to attempt to meet at 2 o'clock on Thursday. But if you'd like us to proceed on Peter and that, we certainly can.
I would think that we would be better off to go ahead and approve the contract that you guys have with him to do that report, because I'm afraid we're gonna end up in a timeline crunch where we're not gonna get it done in time.
Well,
Yeah.
I would suggest that we engage Peter, say tomorrow, and then have him send a request to the NPS requesting an extension or delay. Now, that will cover his paperwork and let him know that we're working on it.
Okay,
And that'll keep our feet out of the fire, okay?
okay.
If you would vote on that today, we could vote on it tomorrow. So we could get it done that quickly on Peter on that work.
Okay. So is there a motion to hire Peter Simons to do the National Park Service report for the ground that was acquired from the Bureau of Reclamation involving the Rod and Gun Club, the golf course, and other public lands?
You know, I don't have a problem doing that. The only problem is it's not on our agenda.
I agree with
And-
Daryl.
And I think that,
I think we can add it to next week's agenda,
yeah,
but I don't think we can vote on it today.
Okay.
So if you guys could keep us informed of what you decide, we can add it by Wednesday.
If we're all in concurrence, we'll light the fire under Peter and get the ball rolling.
Thanks, Thanks, Peter. Okay, so I guess we can go to the 1030 Rod Barrick Wheatland property alternative site for emergency services or public works building.
So, I'm Rod Barrick. I own some property in the village at Elk Ridge. It's commercial property. And I would like to propose possibly building a fire or facilities building for you guys and leasing that back to the county. It's right off of the highway there, off of Price Road. I give you a sample plan of a building that we've already kind of, initially we were gonna build on the property. We can adjust that building to suit your needs, or we could build something different to suit your needs. It does have the ability for a live workspace, so we could do a live-in fire station as well.
so is the access off from Prairie Way, is that right?
Yep, it is.
Okay.
It's about one lot in off of Prairie Way. If you're familiar where that greenhouse is at right now, it's basically right across the road from that.
Okay.
We could do it on We could propose building a building on 1 acre, or we have the option of even buying a 3rd acre right next door. If you needed a larger facility, we could encompass all 3 acres. So the current building there with the little man doors, that actually could be encompassed into one larger building, you know, if you so desired.
Is it one of these buildings the current building?
No, there's currently nothing on the site,
Okay, okay.
so it's open to whatever. I'm just seeing what's out there.
Sure.
So Ron, it looks like a very short distance to Price Road. You would go
It is.
almost just straight north,
It's
is
probably
that?
less than, I'd say less than 300 feet to Price Road.
Okay.
You know, you're less than a quarter of a mile to the highway.
Do you have a proposed price? You mentioned leasing.
I do not, we have not put together pricing on it as of yet.
Okay,
You know, I'd rather see what kind of building the county would like, and then if we could adjust to that, you know, then come to an agreement on that.
and are you proposing you would build it?
I would, yeah.
Okay.
Build it, own it. Potentially, I mean, it would be nice for a 10-year lease with a turnover at the end where you guys purchase it, if that's possible. You know, or there's the possibility we put it up and turn it over at the county immediately type of deal.
I guess I'm looking for the dimensions on the building. Is it
Yeah, I think it's 60 feet deep currently.
Okay. And if we needed a different configuration, we could.
Yep,
we can
we
work
sure
something
could.
out.
Yep,
Okay.
yep. Like I say, that's just one we had designed
Yep.
originally to put on there. It was gonna be some commercial and then RV storage type facility, but we can alter or do whatever.
Is that what these numbers, are these numbers back here, those would be storage facilities?
They were just set up on that site. I mean, they're not, they could be added or subtracted at any, whatever is needed. So that lot, I believe that lot was the C4 lot. We do have the C5 lot currently, which is the corner lot as well, next to it. And it could encompass from a single 1 acre lot to a 3 acre if you needed.
Would that be C9, making it the 3 acres?
Yes, it would.
Okay.
Yep.
So I see some septic stuff here. You already have that approved?
We do not have.
Oh, okay.
It's.
That's just there for,
Yep,
for reference?
yep,
Okay.
yep. Yeah, that plan is just kind of a sample plan.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Well, I know this is something that, you know, that the county is considering in that area,
Mhm.
and I appreciate you reaching out to us, giving us this option.
So I guess currently what we're looking for is just, if we could go into talks and see if there's something we could offer you on that property. what you may need and what, you know, we could build for you.
Right. I
And
think,
then it would just have to be priced out and
sure.
see if everything would work out in the end for both parties.
Yeah. Well, I'm in favor of moving forward with some additional talks and talk about pricing.
Okay.
And we'll talk with, you know, our public works folks and emergency services folks and see what their needs might be, and we'll go from there.
Okay. That it?
Thank you for
Okay.
bringing this forward, I
Yep.
appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I guess we're gonna have to wait, Mike, huh?
What's that?
We're gonna have to wait on our timeline.
Yeah.
Rod, did you put your contact information on here anyplace?
No, I'll get it to you.
Yeah,
Sorry.
let's do that.
I was thinking that this morning.
Okay. Here, just go ahead and write on here if you can, or. Wonderful, thank you.
Darryl, would you share that with all of
I
us?
will, yeah.
Thank you.
I'll go share that. Actually, if you want to write it, I'll just pass it down.
I guess according to our schedule, we will take a recess until 10:45 for the county attorney Copper City Road public hearing. So we'll recess the meeting back to order. We'll close the meeting and go on to the county attorney Copper City Road, county road abandonment, establish a public hearing decision. Corey, would you like to go ahead?
Yes, please, thank you. So I put some documents over here. There's a big thick of just historical documents, big packets, about 70 pages. I just did 5 of those. I can do more if anyone wants them. And then next to it I was 10 copies of a 4 or 5 page legal memo I did, and then next to that's 10 copies of the proposed resolution, which I gave to the commission. So in September of 1999, so 1 month short of 20 years ago, there was an agreement that the county and Bureau of Land Management had with Don Schofield dealing with a road, an old road called Copper City Road. So if you're in the county, you know, there's Old Town Road, which is on the down southern end, comes off Highway 287, goes, eventually crosses the bridge by Three Forks. Copper City Road was an old county road that came off of Old Town Road, went north-northeast through the Schofield Ranch and accessed several sections of BLM land and some state land that would be east of Highway 287. Then if you're driving up the Highway 287, you got those metal horses up there on the west side of the highway. Go past those, top of the hill, there's a little mall that's on the west side, and if you look to the right there on the east, there is what's now big sign says Copper City Road, and there is a road that is a pretty good quality road, although it gets snowed in the winter. And it goes from the highway east and accesses those same BLM and state lands that this old road did. So the back history of this is that way back when, that what we call the new Copper City Road, the road that right now we use, was a county road. The county abandoned it in 1942 because it wasn't being used. And what did remain was a county road, which we call the old Copper City Road, which ran through the Schofield Ranch. County never maintained it. So in 1998, there was some kind of a washout, and it was big parts of this road were basically gone. And the county road department at that time said it's going to cost us so much money to use this road, to repair this road. So Don and Patsy Schofield came and said, well, let's do this. Let's have you abandon this road, and we'll grant an easement, public road easement, for you to do a new county road back where this other one was that we abandoned in 1942. And that's in section 27. And that would then be a much easier route to access these BLM and state lands. And then the county could abandon this road that's not really even repaired or used that goes through the Schofield Ranch. So they formed an agreement in September 1999, just a month short of 20 years ago. That agreement called for those things to happen. The Schofields would grant a public road right away across their land to get to this BLM land, and that would become the new Copper City Road. The county would declare that a county road and would build and maintain it. The BLM pitched in a little bit of money for fencing, and then the county would abandon the old Copper City Road that ran through the Schofield Ranch. So the agreement was formed 1999, September. In March 2000, the Schofields granted the easement. It's recorded. It's in that packet of documents I gave you. In April, Bob Masolo reported that they had reclaimed the old Copper City Road. And what they did is they went in, they obliterated it, they reseeded it, and they basically got rid of the road. And then in May, a month later, reported the new Copper City Road had been completed. So we've used that new Copper City Road as a county road since May of 2000. Turns out I can't find a record of us actually declaring it to be a county road. And then, 3 different times this issue's come before the commission, and each time the commission has voted to close the old Copper City Road, not abandon it. And part of that is just, a lot of times we use those terms interchangeably. But the written agreement, which I've included in the packet, specifically says abandon the county road. And the county's intentions of reseeding the road, I think, are pretty clear that it was an intent never to reuse this road. There's also some law dealing with the fact that once you have an agreement for real estate, any interest in real estate, whether it's an easement or purchase or whatever, and someone performs their part of it, the other party is therefore obligated by what's called specific performance to perform their part. So when Schofields gave that easement to the county, they completed their part of the agreement. That triggers the county's having to do it as well. So as fast forward to May of 2012, Ralph Schofield, who is the successor in interest to Don, he brought a petition back for the county to abandon the old Copper City Road. He had it signed by a whole bunch of people. There's a full quote on there. I don't think it's you. I think it's your brother. And a whole bunch of people signed it. And it was specifically for the purpose of completing the 1999 agreement. That's what he asked for. And he asked for it to be abandoned. The county voted, yep, we approve it, and they voted to close the road. Again. So then the same thing came back in May of 2015. Mr. Goss, who's president, Eugene Goss, he's now the owner of this ranch. He's the successor in interest of the Schofields. He came, same deal. Let's complete the 1999 agreement. And the commission, we again voted to close the county road. So I think what we've got here is simply interchanging of terms. What we'd like to do to get this thing completely resolved, so in 20 more years, whoever's after me isn't standing here before whoever's after you. I would recommend that we do the following. I provided a resolution, and it would just recognize the factual history as I laid it out. I'm gonna be disappointed if nobody takes any of those documents, and we made all those copies there. And to do two things. One, to declare the new Copper City Road is a county road. That matters for official purposes, for maintenance, we get some gas tax money associated with miles of county road. And then second, to officially abandon the old Copper City Road, not just close it. And the language at the very bottom of that on page 2, hereby declared abandoned as a county road, all public rights of way and easements associated therewith are extinguished, fee title to the land is unaffected by this action. So that's my recommendation. I can talk at more length on that if you want to. I do know Mr. Goss and his attorney are here and they would like to speak, and I'll answer any questions.
I guess one question that I have, Corey, is, so we get all our terms right, the current new Copper City Road was abandoned at one time.
Yes.
Okay.
I didn't go back to the very origin of it, but in 1923, all right, I'll give you a little history. So, we've kind of been different counties over the years, right? We were once the Marr County, way back in territorial days, and then we were Jefferson County, and then we split off and became Broadwater County. And then the legislature passed a law in 1921 that basically said, we've got all these county roads all over the place in all these counties, and we need counties to tabulate county roads. So, in 1923, following that law passed in 21, this county, as Broadwater County, did a resolution in which you tabulated every county road that existed at that time. And like name, description, etc. So the old, what I'm now calling the new Copper City Road, which I'm asking you to declare a county road today, it was included in that 1923 resolution. I don't think it was called Copper City Road, but it was recognized as a county road. Well, then in 1942, so 19 years later, it hadn't been used forever, and there was really no reason to keep it as a county road, etc. So it was abandoned, and there was this other land, right? So what happened after 42 was the Taylor Grazing Act was passed in 1947, and it took all this open range that was unsettled, unclaimed, whatever, organized it into Bureau of Land Management lands. Okay, state lands already existed, but it is what really formed the Bureau of Land Management. And so what happened is, sometime after 42, we still had this, what I'm calling the old Copper City Road, that went to those lands. And likely, based on the name Copper City Road, there was originally some mining claim or something up that road that they thought was, or they were just trying to advertise it, right? That pretend that there's copper up there and sell the land. But that road did access those public lands. There's a statute, and I included all this materials, that says you cannot abandon a county road that accesses public lands unless there is another road that provides substantially the same access. So with the establishment of this new Copper City Road, we have actually better access to all those lands, because the other one, according to all the testimony from 1998 through 2012, nobody was using this road. It didn't even exist in some places. So this would be reestablishing the road that existed from at least 1921 to 1942 and calling it Copper City Road. And it's the road we all know is Copper City Road today. It's got a sign. I just drove by it the other day. It's got a sign. It's the road everybody uses to go to those mountain biking areas. You guys want public comment?
Sure.
Morning, Chairman, Commissioners. My name is Mimi Faller. I am an attorney here on behalf of Gene Goss, the current property owner of the property where the old Copper City Road and the new Copper City Road now sit. I'll be brief. I generally agreed with the county attorney's memo, and we are in favor of the proposed resolution that he has provided you. What we're really looking for here is it's a housekeeping item. We are looking for a cleanup of an old easement that burdens my client's property, and we believe that the county has an obligation to grant this resolution today. As Corey stated and went through, there was an agreement in 1999 that effectively created that obligation on the county to abandon this easement. Don Schofield, along with the BLM and the county, entered into an agreement whereby Don agreed to grant a new easement that effectively created a better, easier route to the BLM property that the old Copper City Road provided access to. As Corey mentioned, the old Copper City Road did not provide adequate access. The road had been washed out by a large storm. Motor vehicles had not been able to pass on that road for some time, and it was extremely expensive for the county to maintain that road relative to the current access road, which the current access road is great. I've been on it many times to go mountain biking out there, and it's wonderful. So what we're looking for here, and as Corey mentioned as well, is that we have tried to do this, and several other parties have tried to do this already, and we believe that it's just an issue of semantics, really. The word closed was used interchangeably with the word abandoned. We have seen 2 petitions come before the Broadwater County Commission historically that have attempted to sort of remediate this issue already, and both petitions were for the abandonment of this old Copper City Road, and the agenda included the word abandon in each of those instances, and yet the motion that was proposed was to close these roads, and at no point in the meeting minutes was it considered that at some point that this road would be reopened. It was reseeded, you can't even tell it's there in most places anymore. So it is our opinion that the road was effectively abandoned. It was the intent of the commission each time this issue was before it to abandon the road. It was just the word closed was used instead of abandoned. So we are before you today to wrap this thing up and put this issue to bed once and for all, and use the word. We request that you use the word abandon in your motion, and put this to rest. So thank you.
Yes, Steve?
Mike, I was party to that negotiation, and that was the intent of that contract with Don Schofield, was to abandon that old road.
Okay, thank you.
Mary, do you have any, you're a public works director, you're gonna be accepting a new road.
And I do have some concerns about it, and would like to chat with Corey about it at some point.
So what are your concerns as far as that road?
Well, my concerns are basically maintenance costs. It's a single lane road, how far up, is the county's obligation to maintain that road? With the traffic that's proposed to be on that road, it's gonna have to be widened. Who bears that financial responsibility there? Looking at the recent work that we did on determining the cost to build county road standards in the southern end of the county, it was gonna be about $680,000 just to build a gravel road. So if we're looking at, over $400,000 a mile to build that road up to county road standards. And that's a concern because I do not have the money set aside for that.
So are we obligated to bring it to a county road standard? I don't know, I don't think we are.
If we have to widen the road for access, because, right now, the issue is people coming in and coming out with travel trailers. The easement is that a 40-foot easement or a 60-foot easement?
40.
Through that?
That's 40.
Okay, so we're limited there, in some regards, and what is the road department's obligation to that? So that's something that I would like, determined before a final decision is made, so that we can be sure that we have, the funds, to do what we need to do out there.
Yes, Steve?
Might I suggest that you fulfill the original contract obligation to Don Schofield and his estate and the new owners by abandoning the initial road? You have access, you have some in-house bookkeeping that has nothing to do with not fulfilling the Schofield contract. So if you could abandon that, it would certainly clear it up for the new owners.
there any other public comment? Okay, we will.
I would just say, you could do what Mr. McCullough suggested without violating the statute. The statute specifically says the board may not abandon a county road or right-of-way used to provide existing legal access to public lands or waters, including recreational use, unless another public road right-of-way provides substantially the same access. It doesn't require a county road. This has already been granted and accepted by the county as a public road right-of-way, so it would fulfill that limitation.
Thanks, Corey. If there's no further public comment, we'll close the hearing and go to the decision to abandon Copper City Road.
Mike, I have a few questions if I may.
Okay.
Was there a legal ad done for this meeting?
No, we were told that there's no requirements on resolutions for, there's no requirement time frame wise. It was put on the agenda as a public hearing. Of course, that there was no requirements for a time frame when you had to, how many days you had to do it or anything for the public ad.
So, was the resolution published for the public upstairs in the clerk and recorder's office?
No, not that I know of.
I don't disagree with anything that was said, but with all the challenges against us and process, I'm not sure that we have complied with MCA. Statute, and I don't know what it is off the top of my head, I would leave that to those who are smarter than I. But there is statute that says any resolutions require 2 weeks' notice in the paper. We do a legal ad for those, I believe that's also in statute. I believe that we are not complying with the law by not following that MCA. So I would suggest we just put this on 2 weeks, legal ad, publish the resolutions so that the citizens are aware.
Well, I guess we asked that question, so Corey, help us out there.
Yeah, I'm looking for the exact statute here. 7/14/2615 says, an order to abandon a county road is not valid unless preceded by notice and public hearing. We've met that. It's listed on the agenda
But a
as,
public hearing,
it's listed County Attorney, Copper City Road, County Road Abandonment and Establishment, Public Hearing and Decision. We just had that. I guess I'd also point out, I don't know if it matters to you, but 7/14/2609 says the proceedings provided for in this part shall in no way be affected or invalidated by the failure of the board to give any notice or do any act provided for in this part.
read that again?
The proceedings provided for in, oh no, never mind, that's referring to just damages. There's no damages sought, so it doesn't matter.
Can you read the public hearing statute? It's 7/1 something something.
131. It should be 431.
So, 7/14/2615. Abandonment or vacation of county roads. All county roads once established must continue to be county roads until abandoned or vacated by, and it gives 3 different ways you can do that. An order to abandon a county road is not valid unless preceded by notice and public hearing.
And by having it on the agenda, we had notice of a public hearing, right?
No, and that's why I asked Corey to read the statute on public hearings. Public hearings are required to be noticed in the newspaper of record. Bobby, probably more of an expert than I am, but 2 weeks' notice with a legal ad. I don't believe that was done, and it's 7/1 something, I don't know what it is. Bobby said 2121, is that
It was
correct?
4131, but that was in 2017. I'm looking at the 2018. It is 2 weeks. For a public hearing, you have to have a 2 weeks notice. I am trying to find the 2018 one here.
A public meeting and public hearing are two different things, and they're governed by two different areas of statute.
just out of curiosity, I mean, if this started in 1998, Steve McCullough was a commissioner at the time, hasn't this already gone through the process of being closed? This is no longer a public road, this is no longer a county road. This road doesn't even exist, this was done back in 1998. So I guess this is in regards to what the attorney for the landowner said. This is a cleanup because the word closed was used versus abandoned. But this process should already been done. You're trying to abandon a closed road. That was closed and abandoned in 1998. So it seems like we're reinventing the wheel for something that's already been done 2 decades ago. Unless I'm completely off my chart, but this road doesn't exist. This is just a clerical thing and clear up some paperwork. So I'm not really sure why, in the sake of your time, unless you guys have lots of time to spare, why you want to go back through the whole process that's already been done in 1998. So that's just a question I have.
I guess the answer would be because the wrong word was used. I don't know what else to say.
Well, yeah, I mean, and I understand that as well, context. You know, unfortunately, we're trying to rewrite our own history because we want to be politically correct on everything in the world now, but was the context used in 1998 by the people that were serving on that board was to close and make it go away? They obviously did because they reseeded it and closed it off, and it's no longer in existence. So, I mean, I guess that's where, I mean, I hate for government officials to spend all their time reinventing the wheel to make things up to a standard of 2019 in regards to verbiage and language, when it worked 2 decades ago. So, it's just my opinion.
I guess I'm not seeing the double publication requirement. I'm looking at 7.1.41.31, public hearing. When required, the governing body shall conduct public hearings for the purpose of providing reasonable opportunity for citizen participation prior to final decisions. And it goes on about the requirements. Public hearing provide for submission of oral and written testimony for and against the matter. Public hearings may be held at regular or special meetings of the governing body. Hearings may be adjourned from day to day or to a date certain. Except for budget hearings, the governing body may designate a subcommittee or a hearing examiner to conduct a public hearing. There are requirements for double publications in other areas and for other actions, but it's not public hearing. That's if by law a matter must have a legal notice. But I haven't found a statute that applies specifically to public hearing. I looked at that back whatever it was last week or when that was asked. So I'm not seeing that is a requirement for a double publication. There are some matters that are, but you have to look at that specific item. I'm not seeing it for roads.
Mr. Chairman, I'm gonna go get our county policies and Title VII. Bobby, what was that statute again that you just confirmed needed the 2 weeks?
It's 4131 and then 2121 also. On 2121, I'm seeing just once a week, at least once a week. It doesn't tell me a requirement of how many weeks.
And was that 7.1 on both of those?
Yes.
Okay.
So Corey, did you look at the petition that Ralph Schofield brought?
Yeah.
Did it specifically state abandonment?
Yeah. And also in the agenda, in the notice in the agenda, it specifically included abandonment, and it asked for any, I'll look at the exact language.
Reclaiming?
Any quick claim deed that may be necessary as a result of it, which is indication of abandonment.
get our resolution that we do at the beginning of the year. That might also have this. Might be entitled to. So our meeting policy, which is a legal requirement that we have, states that public hearings will be advertised per section 712121 MCA in the local newspaper of record. So 712121 states first of all, subsection 10 is new, I believe as of this legislature, the last one. If a newspaper fails to publish the second notice, the local government unit must be considered to have met the requirements of this section, as long as the local government unit submitted that required information prior to the submission deadline, and the notice was posted in the 3 public places. So that states that you need 2, and then it's in here more clear, I just can't find it yet. Bobby, do you know what subsection that
I
was?
am still looking.
All right.
They've changed it so much.
It says here the newspaper must be published at least once a week. That's not the notice. It's subsection 6 under 712121. The notice must be published twice with at least 6 days separating each publication.
That doesn't apply to all things published. It wouldn't make
No.
any sense because we publish our agenda once a week prior to the commission action.
Correct.
Just when something
But we're talking
specifically
But
has
we're
to.
talking about a public hearing. That's what this has to be to abandon a road.
But-
And I think you guys just read that, notice and a public hearing. So public meeting is one thing, public hearing is another. This is a public hearing for this action, and we have not complied with state law.
Well, the preamble, you have to look at subsection 1 of this statute, specifically says, when a local government is required to give notice by publication. There's a lot of items where you have to give specific notice by publication. Sheriff's sale, for example.
I'm only talking about public hearings. This is a public hearing. This, I think we just need to make sure we do it right for a variety of reasons. It is in our notice of meetings. So,
Well, I sent this to you on August 1st, and then I've had at least one other follow-up message with documents and requesting to be placed on the agenda. and never heard back. I think this would have been helpful had you had a concern about this, that we, sometime between August 1st and today, say, let's do 2 weeks publication on it. That would have been helpful.
And I think you're right, I didn't realize that we didn't have the resolution, that it wasn't published, that there wasn't a legal ad. So all I'm saying is, I don't have a problem with the action as long as we follow the law to get to it. And I just don't think we are.
Steve, did you have something?
I think the action was agreed to in the original contract with Town Schofield. I think you're just completing a contract by abandoning that road today.
And how do, I'm just looking through the commissioner meeting, minutes from those dates, and you already had a couple public hearings on this already,
We've had 3.
right?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question,
Yes.
and I guess this is for Corey. Corey, in 98 or whatever year you said this was done, if they had used the word abandon, we would not be here today, correct?
That's correct. Or 2012 or
Or,
2015.
right. So it is literally about misuse or a different word.
So, Corey, let me ask you this, if we go ahead and abandon this and then we end up in a lawsuit, where are we at with that since we didn't publish a notice for a public hearing for 2 weeks?
Well, I don't believe that interpretation is accurate. I believe we've done the notice that's needed. If you wanna wait and do it in another week, ask Mr. Goss if he has a problem with that. Doesn't matter to me. Because based on the research that I've done, this issue's almost 20 years overdue. I think you've given more than enough notice, but if you wanna wait a week out of caution, go ahead, and,
So then would we have to go through this entire process again for another public hearing?
well, the statute I read on public hearing says a public hearing may be continued from day to day or week to week. If you wanna put it on the table and take it back up next week, I think you're fine. Provide opportunity for public comment next week, and you're good to go.
I'm just wondering if we already had this public hearing and we never advertised it, or we have an illegal public hearing, then we're gonna recess an illegal public hearing and then open up another public hearing that's actually an illegal public hearing to begin with. Where are we at?
Well, as has been stated, I know we've had 3 public hearings on this. We had one in 1999, we had one in 2012, we had one in 2015. So this will be our 4th public hearing. Sooner or later, it's gonna take.
I think this is a good example of the frustration that people have with government. I mean, there's an intent of the commission to abandon this road. Let's get it done. I'm gonna make a motion that the county officially abandon the old Copper City Road and establish the new Copper City Road as a county road.
And I'm not going to participate. I do believe that we are violating 712121, or 1212, no, 2121. And 7142615.
I'll second it only for discussion. I would have to say it's, we're sitting here discussing the government possibility. Well, here's another one I'll throw you. Is it, so we go ahead and pass this thing. So then somebody gets a hold of it and somebody comes back and sues. So now we've got Mr. Goss held up again for another 5 years until something gets into court. Because we don't know if we're on the right side of whether or not we had a public hearing advertised for 2 weeks or not, or whether a public hearing that's already been held 4 times is allowed to continue to carry on if it's already been adjourned twice, or if this is a public hearing that wasn't properly advertised, but then we continued the illegal public hearing to have another hearing to open the road or close the road. So eventually, Mr. Goss ends up down the road in court 3 more times because we had a public hearing that was illegal after 3 other hearings that were legal. And I think it would be wise, as much as I don't want to continue it and advertise a public hearing for 2 weeks, and then everybody's out in the clear. I don't necessarily agree with it. But then again, I'm not a lawyer and I don't want to get tied up with any anymore.
Your legal counsel says it's okay to pass it.
County attorney is a counsel to the commission, is that correct?
That's correct.
Actually, by statute, he's our advisor.
I guess, Gene, what would you say? It's your problem.
Well, I think what Mr. Folkford said, I mean, this is the poster child for being frustrated with government. And I've already spent a lot of money and time. We bought the property from the Schofields. We're told and presented documents that it was abandoned, both in '98 and 2012. Both of those were public hearings, and then I went to a public hearing and the whole process in 2015 because it still seemed like there was a gray area. So there's been 3 public hearings. It's semantics on the terminology. There's no road there. It's not possible to even use the road. You got a county road that's works for the BLM and the state, and we run our cows out there, and everybody seems to be happy. So this is just it's a housekeeping item that, you know, I think it seems fairly straightforward. We've got a past commissioner saying he was there and that was the intent of the commissioners. And we've got the documentation that says abandoned. I mean, I'm kinda out of patience with it, and so, you know, I pay my taxes, I obey the laws, I'm a good citizen, but, you know, I'm at a point now where if we can't get some kind of resolution, which anybody with common sense, doesn't need to be a lawyer, ought to be able to agree with those documents. And
Mike, and I have no dog in the fight, no skin in the game, we all know that. In regards to the frustration that Mr. Goss is feeling, I can definitely empathize with that. And the fact is that in what part, you know, we're sitting here going, we have an illegal meeting, we're doing this, we're doing that. Let's be honest, let's go back to the basics. He owns the land both these roads sit up. You know, the one thing you should fear from a lawsuit would be the fact is not taking action. Because that's, in a sense, that's what I'm hearing, is that he's gone through this over and over and over again. And the county, the government has failed to do their job accurately 3 times prior. Okay? So, I understand where you're at, I understand where you're at, I understand where Commissioner Ober's at, but I also understand where this gentleman's at. and we getting too far into the weeds, he owns the land that both these roads sit on. The only person that's gonna sue you is him. And I think for to take action is you're opening the door for that to even happen quicker. And that's just my opinion, and I know, only thing I know is I've been sued 6 times in the last couple of years, so I have an idea what it's like to get sued. So, I would probably listen to the fact that Corey is, as the county legal advisor, whatever you wanna call him, plus the fact Mr. Goss's attorney saying this is house cleaning. 3 public hearings in 2 decades, I think this dog has been beaten enough, it needs to be either let out in the kennel or put down, but I think something needs to happen. And that's just, like I said, I have no skin in the game, no dog in the fight, but I think what Commissioner Folford said, this is government overreach in its finest, so that's all I have.
Mike, as a lifeline, here's just a suggestion. Why don't we just postpone by 1 week? We've got the public comment. Mr. Goss doesn't have to come back, unless you want to. But we've got the public comment, it's all on record. Let's go ahead and confirm with Tara Depew and Susan Swinley. They are land use attorneys with MACO. If I am wrong, I will buy everybody here donuts next week. If I'm correct, then let's do this right to keep the county out of trouble. And that's not bribery, I'm just being funny. I won't buy anybody donuts. Thanks, Shirley.
Just a comment. I think it's a moot point. I think this whole thing needs to be over. You were a commissioner in 15. The public meetings have been held. It's a moot point. It's housekeeping. It's one word. Pass it and give Mr. Goss peace of mind.
And that's the problem I have is it's one word.
It is.
One word is you did not use abandonment when you had the other 3 public hearings, but the other one word is advertise. You did not advertise a public hearing for 2 weeks. So which one of the one words, or when we end up in the court, what the hell one word matters? That's the whole problem with the damn thing, is one word was not used when it was supposed to use 3 different times.
Correct.
So now we're sitting here supposed to use the right word, but we're not advertising it in the right way according to our resolution to have meetings.
Well, that's a mixed opinion also, it sounds like.
Yeah, I know, everything's an opinion until you get somewhere and somebody has to pay a bill.
Well, that's right.
Your legal counsel says you're on solid ground.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll call for a vote on the resolution. The motion's been made to approve the resolution to abandon the old Copper City Road and adopt the new Copper City Road as a county road. Is that what we're still doing, or are we only abandoning and waiting on the adoption?
It's up to you. You can bifurcate it if you want to.
My motion was for both.
Your motion is for both?
Yep.
So I guess we'll call for a vote. All in favor? Aye. Pose same?
I'm not opposed, but I'm not going to participate based on what my previous statement.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Melissa, did you get a copy of this? And we go on to 11:15, adopt a collective bargaining agreement for the sheriff's office.
On this one, I'm going to just jump right in and move that we get her done. Move that we sign the collective bargaining agreement plus any with continuing health insurance contracts that go with it.
Is there a second?
I guess I'll second for discussion. So, Wynn, you got the final one from
I
Aaron?
do, I think, well, I think I do. Did you guys get it? It was sent out, I printed it out this morning, so I only have one copy.
Yes.
Some of the things that went through, just so we're clear, in this last one, when you guys had a meeting last Monday, in regards to that, one of the, I think there was some miscommunication of what, I was presented some language, and some draft stuff. I wasn't presented the final document on what you guys were looking at. So that's what I asked. I was at a meeting at Mako that week, or that day. So Corey, I obviously told Corey I wanted to be able to review the document. Part of the things was some of the language which sounds silly to most people, but a lot of the language in there said Sheriff's Department, and we all know how I feel about that particular language, since it is the office of the sheriff. So I had them change that, and then on the back, the other big one was just an Exhibit B. Under the uniform stuff, there were some things that had changed, in part as to the dispatch control detention. Is that there wasn't anything, there was a dress shirt, but there wasn't a dress pants or the metal badge. As part of what's transpired in the last couple of years with court cases and everything else, our detention, our dispatchers have been called to testify on what's taking place within the jail environment and what's taken within call. And so now our dispatch and detention both have a dress uniform with a metal badge. So that was changed in there to make sure that correlated correctly with what had transpired. And the other thing, there's some other verbiage I believe on paragraph, I know it was paragraph 9. I think it was page, page 3, paragraph 9, article 4. One of the things I also want to make sure we do is we want to make sure that anything we do in regards to the union agreement or collective bargaining agreement also fall within the Montana Code annotated. So that information was put in there as well. I want to make sure in the future, whoever sits in this seat or whatever, that we follow the laws as they are written and not try to circumvent them in any fashion. So those are the changes that I requested. It's been back through, I think you guys have looked at it, I've looked at it, I don't have any heartburn over it, the union doesn't seem to have any heartburn over it. So I think we're good to go. We can get it signed and move on to bigger and better things. Any questions for me? All right, so I think we've conquered a hurdle. So, thank you guys. I appreciate the time for letting me review it. And well, I got this one. If you guys want to sign this one. Now, there were some format issues. This is the only one I have, so I didn't think about printing them out.
I think Debbie had some.
She didn't print them out either.
Okay, did you get all your questions answered, Debbie, on the?
Well, that's housekeeping.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
that's housekeeping later.
So one of the things, some of the format issues, obviously you see on the Exhibit B, I think that's some of the format.
Yeah.
My conversation with Debbie and with Aaron has been, let's just get it signed and we can fix the grammatical stuff in a hard copy and format wise. But for all intents and purposes, I think that getting to that is where we need to be. So I will give you guys this one to sign and make that the original as anybody sees fit.
Okay.
And then we'll go from there. So,
Any other public comment? Call for a vote, all in favor of signing the Teamster local union contract, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same, motion carries.
in regards to the conversation that we had earlier last week, I did also, so we have some issues we're trying to resolve, and I will just take a few minutes of your time. In regards to that, one of the issues we're facing right now in our dispatch center is we keep losing some dispatchers on a very rapid rate. As I talked with Commissioner Fulford on last Friday, I was just advised Thursday afternoon that I have not only one leaving in this month, I also have two that are possibly gonna look at accepting some positions as well. Unfortunately, what that does is it also puts us in a part where we cannot operate that dispatch center. That's a huge problem. That dispatch center closes, that means I had to close a jail, which means I gotta move those 46 inmates somewhere else, and we lose a whole bunch of patrol guys quick, fast, in a hurry. My analogy to this was similar to the World Trade Center. You put a plane in the right spot, the whole building comes down. And I can't keep that dispatch center open, the whole thing comes down. And so I have asked Commissioner Fulford to sit down with the other sheriffs, myself, and try to come up with some sort of plan or idea on how we can recruit and retain some dispatchers. I did talk with Aaron, and I said, is there any possibility that there's gonna be some rollback from the union on this? And she says, no, we support that. I will have a discussion with my staff as well, because I understand the Me Too part of the clause within the contract, but the reality is if that dispatch center closes, no one's gonna have a job, so it really doesn't matter in a lot of aspects. So we have to do something to salvage that particular division of that office. And I'm not sure what it's gonna take, but the undersheriff and myself are very concerned about what is it we can do to make sure these people stay with us. We've got a lot of time, money, and effort invested into these folks, and for them to want to leave in such a rapid rate is very concerning. So we've made some changes over there already, but it might not be enough. But we're going to try to sit down and have a planning session to try to figure out what might work and what can't work. So. Yeah, in grand scheme of things, this union contract, if things continue down the path we're on, it's gonna be completely irrelevant, in the most part, because there's gonna be me and the undersheriff and maybe a deputy or two, if things continue down this path. So, we really gotta work on retention, and, I'm not sure what that's gonna look like yet, but, it's a serious enough situation that needs to be addressed fairly quickly, so. Okay.
All right.
Any questions on that?
How long does it usually take you to train a new?
8 to 10 weeks. And so we did hire two. One's in training right now. Unfortunately, it sounds like she's not very happy, because somewhere between interview, accepting the job, and getting into training, she didn't realize that she's gonna have to work nights. Yeah, that's part of the gig. She was not very happy about that. And the other one hasn't actually even checked on to that. So it's a process. And then the other downfall of that is it's also 7 weeks at the academy, 4 weeks for detention. I have 6 right now, 2 for dispatch, and they're trying to go to 3 on that dispatch class as well. So you're looking at about 17 weeks total to get somebody up to speed on doing that job. And so it's quite a daunting task. So I just can't throw somebody in there because there's 26 cameras, there's 46 inmates they gotta worry about, the detention staff, patrol staff, and they have to run 2 different phone systems and 4 computers at one time. So you have to be fairly multitasking to get that mission accomplished. So, any other questions? Okay, so thank you.
Okay. Okay, move on to our 11:30, Debbie Kelly tax valuation report. Okay,
We all got our emails last week. We got our valuations about 4 o'clock last Monday. And essentially, in a nutshell, there's a copy in the book upstairs if anybody wants to go look at the special districts, what Department of Revenue assessed. It's in the budget book upstairs in the clerk and recorder's office up there on their countertop. Anybody can go look at them. We roughly are seeing a 6% growth. 5.47 of that will be taxed. However, and that's roughly a difference in $104,400 from last year's value to this year's value that they can tax. However, as a result of the higher revenues, the mill number decreased from 108.55 to 104.73. So it'll be a decrease of 3.52. In layman's terms, that's the number of, the percentage is how much those 106 mills, the 104 mills will be divvied up amongst those that get the floating mills. So everybody will be reduced about 3.52%. Caveat to that is the value is more, so while the mills went down, there's gonna be more revenue because the growth we sustained increased the money we'll get for those. So right now it's come down to working numbers to make budgets match the expenditures, revenues, where we're sitting, make some of those final decisions moving forward.
so what was the value of the mill?
It is 16,629. 17, sorry, 17,629.
Yeah, 17.
Last year was 16.047. Thank you.
Debbie, can you share with the folks here about 1510-420, why we lose the mills when we have that kind of growth? Do you know what I'm asking? The folks who have already been here do not realize a 6% growth in their taxes. They're protected from that by that statute to just 0.5% of the last 3 years inflationary increase.
The state limits, that statute limits the amount that we can tax or see in tax revenue. The rest of that goes to the state and funds other things. We get it back in other ways through entitlement, local vehicle taxes. So it reduces the mills for us to generate revenue. And we don't get to see that. You would see a huger increase on your taxes, so it kind of keeps things at a more normal level. Not really, so we don't see a big, huge jump in our taxes. Hard to explain.
Thanks.
Did you say, Deb, the overall increase was 104,000?
104, 440. That's what's gonna be, that's the tax revenue we'll see. The value is the difference between that 16,047
Okay.
that's actually taxed. So that you can't tax all the growth. It reduces the amount you levy. Last year we only were able to see like 3% levied. This year it's almost 5.5. So that's where that growth and that 104,400 comes from.
Okay.
It's that. So the mill is like think of it as a placeholder. You gotta come up with a money value somewhere, so it's kind of the number that helps you get to the monetary value that we can charge on taxes. And we're kind of in a lag as well, so all the growth that we thought we'd get last year is actually what we're seeing this year. So all the extra growth we're seeing out there now, we'll recognize next year, because there's a lag time in how they set up their valuations and use the formulas to determine what we can charge.
most of our budget's prepared pretty much in line with this.
Yes.
Okay.
There's a few that are waiting on end of the quarter revenues that we're still kind of on the fence with. But with having everybody submit balanced budgets based on what they expected for revenue and their expenditures, we're doing good.
Okay.
Better than last year.
So one thing we're gonna have to do is make sure that next week the agenda allows us to do some serious budget work. Because we always say after the valuations come in, which was the 5th, we have 30 days, which is September 3rd. We don't. Debbie has to have the budget done 2 weeks after getting those values so that she can have it published. We can have the public hearing in the newspaper for 2 weeks. And that the whole budget sits in the clerk and recorder's office so that anybody can come in and look at it, take copies, what have you. So we have to have that done next week so that she can get that done, so that we can have all that done by the 3rd. So that'll be a busy week on budget.
Okay.
And there was some argument last year that we could postpone adopting the budget. That 30 days after getting the valuations, as Debbie and Michelle shared last year, is solid. There is no ability to push that off. And we did get Mako to confirm that as well, although you guys were quite clear, so.
Well, and Department of Admin is now, and Department of Revenue has kind of taken over this process. And Department of Revenue's got some more stricter guidelines that we have to have certain documentation and turned in. Otherwise, we could be fined, which will slow things down for grants from the state. That's just a road we don't want to go down. So it does put a lot of pressure on us now with these tighter reins to get things done. It does put a lot of work.
Yeah, I remember them saying that they could withhold grant money.
Mhm.
Sure.
Yeah, and it goes clear through until we got budget done and they accept our budgets and then, yeah, so it's,
Okay.
yeah, and so it's just us, they're tightening down on all the counties, but we don't wanna lose our grant funding because we rely on that a lot for things. So it puts more pressure on us to make sure we get it done first time.
Anything else? All right, thanks Debbie.
Thank you, Debbie.
Thanks, Debbie.
11:45, county attorney authorization for outside counsel due to conflict of interest.
So I'm just trying to provide an opportunity for another attorney to look at some issues that I am conflicted from addressing. I understand that I provided a draft. Do you have that, Commissioner Fulford? And then I understand Commissioner Fulford has a different draft that he's considering. So I can answer questions on what's the best way to go forward with it. Basically, short version is one option is under 714-2705 allows the county commissioners to employ special counsel to assist in any criminal matter that's basically at my request, pending in the county. And those are ordinarily, I've got a couple of those lately, one where
Is it two?
an attorney is assisting. I got multiple copies here if you want it.
I'd like one.
Yeah.
I have just one. Is there two
I
resolutions?
think on this one, there's only
Oh, all right.
one page.
So,
This one? Yeah.
I've done a few of these lately, where we have an attorney who, for example, one at Department of Justice, we talked about probably a month ago, young lawyer who's getting into a certain specialty of cases, and I have one of those cases, so I've invited her to come down and try the case with me, basically to assist her. Way back in, when I first started as county attorney, I had a couple where we had DOJ lawyers come on when it was a, unique or a complex case. So this is one where I just feel like I have a conflict and need to let somebody else drive on that one. That's one authorization option. The second one is the one that Commissioner Folkford has, and that's under 742707, and that allows basically two counties to agree, two commissions as well as two attorneys to agree to basically do a contract for services. So I'm familiar with this. Most recently, Fergus County does some contract for services with Judith Basin County, where they have a part-time county attorney in Judith Basin County, but there's certain types of cases she just doesn't do, really. And so they've contracted between the two counties, and Fergus County does those on an ongoing basis. That's kind of an interlocal agreement option. That was the option that was suggested to us recently. I think that the first one is the more appropriate fitting action, but either one is potentially appropriate.
Is this the one that you're recommending, Corey?
Is that the 2-page there? That's it. The third stanza is in under 742705. Yeah, that's correct. Let me grab my book.
Yeah.
And here's both those statutes. You wanna read them? 05 and 07.
What's interesting about this, if you look at these sections, I mean, clearly you're seeing a delineation between small counties and large counties. That one's limited to counties that have a taxable valuation of $50 million or less. There's another section that I think I've talked about with a couple of you where I could appoint, by statute, I can't have a deputy and a chief deputy, but only if if we're in a county over 30 million valuation, which we're not. So that's another example where I could appoint a deputy county attorney, but that would only be done with your approval. So there clearly is in the county attorney world, there's kind of a recognition that most of these situations where you have someone from the outside are with small counties, which is our case.
So is my understanding, Corey, that this person would just look at whatever these issues are and then decide whether we're gonna go forward or not, right? I mean, that could be the end of it right there, right?
Yeah, that could be the end of it. So they have that authority to decline a case, prosecute a case, to make a deal, to resolve a case. Everything that I currently do with my criminal cases, they can do. Without my approval.
So what role would the county commissioners have in this special counsel as far as for guidance or whatever?
So, under the one that I provided, this was a suggestion. If you look at the big paragraph near the bottom of page 1, that the county commissioners wish to refer a matter to the outside attorney, they can do so as well. Other than that, there's no fees to the no fees being paid, but there would be any normal costs that might go with a court, like, paying for a witness travel fee or a copy of a transcript. Incidental criminal, or any case, civil or criminal case that I have, if there's those charges, then the county would have to pay those the same as if it was my case. I think the question that's a little less clear for the second one, in that it doesn't have, like, what would be the termination of this agreement for, basically be an agreement between Broadwater and Gallatin counties. What would be the termination criteria? And I would recommend if this is the direction you go, that it needs to be, because it's being formed with consent, it requires consent of both county commissioners and both county attorneys, then I would want the termination to all the same line. In other words, I don't wanna be 3 months down the road with some case and then everyone says, well, we're done. And we're stuck holding the bag, and I'm back in the position now, I've got a case that I'm not allowed to do anything with.
Well, I guess in my mind, the authorization for special counsel makes the most sense for what we want to accomplish. But either one would work for us.
Is this open-end, Corey, or is there a deadline date for this?
So it's open-ended in that it's, I don't wanna put a limit on, the limits are what would be the statutory limits for anything. There's a statute of limitations always, there's a speedy trial requirement like that. What I don't think we wanna do is have this thing permanently in place, right? So, what I'm intending by this is that it's matters where I'm currently aware of them and I currently feel I'm conflicted from pursuing them. Whether that's pursuing them with a case or doing a decision to decline it, which itself is kind of a formal process. We usually, if I decline a case, I usually will, if it's to the complainant or to the law enforcement officer, I will generally brief review of the facts and brief review of the reasons why a case is declined. And that, we save that in the file, and that's considered the end of that case. Sometimes it's pending further evidence. Good example, so we had a guy plead guilty on Friday for burning the church down in Radersburg, which was several years ago. We did that case, and then it was cold for 2 years. And then new evidence came in and we reopened it. I never formally declined it at that point when it was cold, but we couldn't move forward at that point, we just kind of sat it on the shelf. So there are some times when you decline a case saying pending further investigation, and then if someone walks in the door, and you saw that in the Billings murder case, right? That was a 15, 20-year-old murder case. Some guy walks in the door and confesses to the case, and suddenly it's reopened. But those are cases where the statute of limitations allows you to do that. I think these are very short-term things where it specifically should be limited to matters that I'm aware of now, that I believe I have a conflict. They're currently pending, and by that I mean, we have enough of an awareness of the issue that action has to be taken. If they're not currently pending, and something were to come down the road, then, you know, Marty Lambert would have to come back to you for further authorization.
Okay.
That's what the wording currently says as far as currently pending.
All right.
That was a really long, I could have done that way shorter, but I wanted to tell a couple stories, sorry.
So would he also investigate other allegations that may arise while he's doing these investigations?
Or is it just currently pending ones?
I think,
Understood it.
I think if that were the case, he would probably need to have a conversation with you about whether he can pursue those, would be my, that would be my, when I say currently pending, if it's something new. So let's look at this bottom paragraph. So if a county commissioner wants to refer something to him, and if it's currently, you know, there's currently an awareness of it as an issue, as of today, August, whatever today is, the 12th, then I think it's currently, that would be okay. If it's something that happens August 13th, then I think that would be something where you have to come back for authorization to go forward.
Is there a motion to adopt one or the other?
I guess I would move that we make an authorization for special counsel proposal here.
So this would be 742705.
Yes.
Is there a second?
I'm not gonna participate, I just got this.
I beg your pardon?
I'm not going to participate.
I will second the motion to adopt the authorization for special counsel. Any public comment or further discussion? Call for a vote, all in favor?
one-
Yes.
What are the circumstances surrounding this investigation that we're giving over to Marty Lambert again?
I'm very hesitant to discuss that. I would leave it at that I have a, actually you can have a copy of the document if you want. fairly covered in the first statement. County attorney is aware of allegations of illegal activity on the part of certain Broadwater County officials, and then the second one, that I've determined I'm conflicted from making an independent prosecutorial decision as to any possible criminal case resulting therefrom or related thereto. So that's it. And it's my assessment that recent appointment by the Attorney General does not cover all the issues that I'm aware of.
So this is separate from the one we already have with Marty Lambert?
That's correct.
Any further discussion? Take a vote, all in favor? Aye. Aye, opposed, same. Motion carries. Let's see, the only other thing we have is minutes from August 5th, 2019.
So on both of those, the Copper City one and that one, can I just come get copies?
Yeah, did you get the one from Copper City?
It wasn't actually signed, the one I got, so,
Yeah, but I think we signed it.
okay.
Yeah, I'll get you copy.
Okay.
Is there a motion to approve the minutes for August 5th, 2019?
I move that we, Chris, approve the minutes of August 2019.
I'll second the motion.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve minutes from August 5th, 2019. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carried. Any other things that come in front of the commission? Yes, Wynn?
I just have, just one thing with regards to corner. Obviously, just so you guys, there's a caveat in the statute, you guys need to know who deputy coroner's gonna be. Seth Winslow obviously leaving, his last day is the 16th, he's one of my deputy coroners. Michelle Frost, Cannon Frost, will be taking that position as a deputy coroner. I did speak with Debbie though, in regards to that. It depends on what the cost is. I might try to have Deputy Caracello out of the Three Forks office there, maybe try to get him as a deputy coroner as well, when it's those issues. The other part of that is we've had some unique deaths here in the last couple weeks, the last couple of months, to be honest with you. So we've done quite a few autopsies, and one of the things we're seeing, that makes things difficult are overdose deaths. Those ones are autopsies, and so I don't know, I need to probably check and see where we're at right now, but I know we've done quite a few autopsies here in the last couple of months. I think we're slated right around, I think that $15,000 a year. For those, I just don't know where we're at with that right now, but we've had, obviously the homicide was an autopsy, and then we had a death over the weekend, or last week, I should say, that required an autopsy as well. We had an overdose down in the Three Forks area that required an autopsy, and so we're probably infringing upon our limit, I would think, or we're getting close to it, just this fiscal year. So, one of the nice things is I have been working with DPHHS as a vice president of the Coroner Association to, they have a grant that we're trying to kind of work out a little bit to where if it's a suspected overdose, based upon the investigation, that they'll reimburse that cost. So that might be something that here in the future might help us out a little bit in regards to those. So obviously with our fentanyl or heroin issues that we have in the state, plus the prescription pill stuff as well, maybe that'll help us out and recoup some of those costs in the future. And then I would just like to share the whole meeting on Monday I wasn't here for, with regards to policy. MACO's trying to get standard policy across the state. So we had presentations from Lexipol and LLRMI in regards to creating a model policy for law enforcement in the state. So that's what that was, and hopefully, as we're gonna meet here in a couple of weeks in regards to our recommendations from the sheriffs. And then they'll go back to the trustees, I believe on September 22nd, for their approval. But Mako did put a little over $600,000 aside to do policy for the biggest liabilities in the counties, and that's the public safety side. So hopefully that'll come into play as well, and we can work towards that. But just want to give you a heads up on what some of the corner issues we're dealing with right now, and if you're seeing claims for autopsies, there's reasons why. So, okay. Any questions with that? Thank you.
I have one thing, I wasn't here at the beginning of public comment, but so we want to let you know Beaverhead County is contributing $5,000 to our major litigation fund. I still haven't heard the final answer on Silver Bow. A couple of individuals have kicked some contributions to us in the last couple of weeks, small amounts, $100 here and there. I was asking for that other $20,000 from the Mason Moore Memorial Fund, and I understand there's a hang up there with the auditor on that $19,000. So I wonder if I could just get on the agenda at some point in the next few weeks, because we still have that balance of $125,000 that my plan had been, and the court administrator is also going to send some money. They've approved that. So between that and that $5,000 from court administrator, $5,000 from Beaverhead County, the PILT that you guys were committing, and then whatever I was planning with the Mason Moore money, then we would have completely paid this off by October 1. So I just need to have that conversation with you about that $20,000, if we can't use that, and figure out a plan B there. But we're close to paying it off, and we just submitted our brief on Friday to the Supreme Court on the appeal on the forced medication decision, and so they get the defense gets a chance for a response brief, and then it'll go to the court. So sometime this fall there'll be probably a court hearing on decision on that.
Right. All right.
But as far as that $20,000, that might be something that I can just get on the agenda sometime in the next few weeks.
Okay.
And I'm supposed to have trial next Monday, but it just settled, so next Monday's fine if it works for you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
real quick question. So next month, 2 months, whatever, there's going to be another hearing on the latest move in that case. Is there any estimations on how far that case will take as far as time frames? I know the wheels of justice have their own motion, but a lot of people are wondering how long it will take to resolve this.
Well, so with the briefing timeline we're on, it'll go to the Supreme Court, and I want to, it'd be before the end of September. I have to check on their exact date. It might be by the end of August. So when it goes to the Supreme Court, then they schedule them, as it goes. So that's why I'm just saying roughly this fall should be when it's up for decision at the Supreme Court. And then sometimes after they make a decision, it still takes them a couple months to write the order, so.
And then just for clarification again, that the Supreme Court decides on the forced medication issue, then it does come back to district court where it continues into a process.
It does, but a really skillful attorney, the defense side might find other creative ways to try Plan B and Plan C.
Okay, it's a long path. I'm just trying to help people understand.
These darn lawyers, it's these darn lawyers.
Well, you're the lawyer, so
I know,
that's why
I'm
I
saying
asked.
it.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
It's like making fun of Swedes, I can do that.
Thanks, Corey.
I had one thing, Mike. Senator Daines was in our county last Thursday, so I had an opportunity to spend the afternoon with him. And we met out at the Towson Bridge project, and so we got a chance to look that over and meet with the Sletton construction crew, and it was pretty interesting to see what they're doing out there. And he's a Bozeman guy, and he's driven this road many times, and he's excited to see this finally happening. And he's really behind the rest of the highway reconstruction of 287. So he supports that, and I think he's going to be a good advocate for us for what happens in the future on this highway. So it was good to spend time with him. We talked about the our economic development district that we're creating down there, and our emergency services thing, and some of the grants that we want to use for that. And, yeah, just talk about other things, but anyway, he extends his greetings to everybody here, and it was good to have an opportunity to talk with him.
Is there a, and I know we've talked about this a little bit, and not to get way off subject, but, you know, I've looked at MBT's schedule and timeline on the 2024 years outside of a chip seal project for the north end. There is nothing taking place, and I know, Mike, you did talk about maybe putting a request in with MBT. I don't know if you did, to see if they would do a study or something out there with all that new development and having turn lanes and stuff put in. I don't know if anything's come to fruition on that. But
Where's that, what are you talking about?
what's that?
What area are you talking about?
North of town.
Yeah.
So everything from 75, there's nothing
It
on
is.
the agenda.
It's in their work, in the works, over at MBT and Duke. Yep, they're working on that, that's gonna be,
Because I looked at their schedule till 2024, and there was nothing
yeah.
outside that chip seal and some crack repair, but,
Yeah.
you know, I think we're getting pretty lucky right now, that we've had a lot of close calls in that stretch. I think everything from about 75 north to all the way up to 69, I think we've gotten fairly lucky. We haven't had some serious crashes out there with people turning and everything else, but the only downfall of road construction, I love seeing the road construction for the new bridge, but it has created quite a few multi-vehicle crashes down on that south end, which drives me completely batty, but other than that, it's, you know, I think it'll be good.
Yeah, the MDT inspectors and stuff were there too, and we talked with them, and I think it's 2022 that they plan to have that last stretch from
Dairy all the way down.
yeah,
Well,
the
before
Camp
the
Hill
dairy.
or Wheat, Montana, back this way to have that completed. That would be all done, that would be a great improvement,
Yep.
so.
Yep.
Anyway, it's happening.
It is, it's a
And,
slow process.
They all agreed that this was kind of a priority within MDOT to get this corridor sorted out, so
Yeah.
they're doing it.
Well, like I said, I know we talked about it a little bit, maybe having a front do a site study out there, and just see if the traffic flow warrants a little difference out there, especially with subdivision. That new subdivision out there is just going crazy, so, both of them are, but, yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Glenn.
No, it'll be done.
Anything else? We will adjourn at 12:22.